Hi, this is Rabia, and today I'm going to present my project, which is design and simulation of MEMS-based interdigitated capacitive humidity sensor with shielding electrode. Before going into detailed modeling and simulation of sensor on ANSYS, I would like to briefly explain the theory and physics behind sensor design. This is the agenda of presentation that I'm going to cover today fully. Humidity sensors are commonly used in a variety of industrial applications. Hence, the main motivation behind designing this sensor is cyber-physical system-based agriculture moisture monitoring. Currently available humidity sensors are not very cost-effective, energy-effective, and precise. Hence, they are not suitable for cyber-physical system. Thanks to advancement in MEMS, it is possible to now design accurate and reliable sensor. Mass fabrication is also possible now. There are different types of humidity sensor: electrical, mechanical, and thermal conductivity sensor. Amongst these, electrical, especially capacitive humidity sensor are preferred due to their easy integration, less power consumption, linear response, and sensitivity. Let us talk a little bit about capacitive humidity sensor and how they work. They work due to change in capacitance relative to change in relative humidity. Two main designs are available, which are shown in figure 1. The first design is the parallel plate electrodes with sensing layers sandwiched between these electrodes. The other design consists of IDEs, or interdigitated electrode, with sensing layer deposited on the top of these electrodes. Both of these designs have their own pros and cons. Therefore, the idea is to design a sensor that is reliable and stable. Another important element to consider while designing capacitive humidity sensor is sensing material. Mostly polyimide and polyvinyl acetate are preferred in capacitive humidity sensor due to their high absorption capabilities and their compatibility with IC fabrication technologies. Considering the two basic designs, this project is aimed to design a sensor that integrates the feature of both the design in order to improve response and sensitivity of the sensor. The idea is also to avoid signal interruptions. Moreover, objective is also to enhance the capacitance range. In figure 2, you can see the humidity sensor design that we have developed in ANSYS. In this slide, you can actually see the standard working principle along with mathematical equations responsible for behavior of capacitive humidity sensor. Variation in relative humidity sensor due to temperature affects relative permittivity of polymer and electric flux. As a result, change in capacitance occurs. You can see the formula for the capacitance. This capacitance formula is basically for interdigitated electrodes. Moving on to scaling laws. Scaling laws express the variation of physical quantity with size of system. In our case, main physical quantities are capacitance, potential energy, and electrostatic forces. Each one is related to size of sensor. For instance, 10 times reduction in size of electrodes gives 10 times reduction in capacitance, 100 times reduction in forces, and 1000 times reduction in potential energy. From here onwards, we are going to talk about modeling and simulation of our sensor. You can see the project schematics. We have used ANSYS modules such as Maxwell 3D, steady state thermal, steady state structure, and Twin Builder to achieve our project objectives. You can also see the sensor design or model. Main components of the sensor are substrate, shielding electrode, dielectric, interdigitated electrodes, and sensing layer. And the materials used for these is silicon, silicon dioxide, copper, and polyimide respectively. Now we will start our sensor modeling. We will first set the units on ANSYS to micrometer, then drag and open Maxwell 3D. We are interested in parametric models, therefore we will define various variables along the way. This is the simulation environment for Maxwell 3D. We will set the units once again, and for Maxwell 3D, choose the solution type to be electrostatics, as we are interested in capacitance change. Now we are going to build our substrate first. We drag the rectangular box here, and now we are going to assign our dimensions. We are going to set length, width, and height of our substrate material. And then we will also going to set the position of our substrate. Since we want to build our model at the origin, so it is very important that our dimensions and positions should be according to that. So this is the substrate material. Now we are going to change the name and also assign the material to the substrate. The material for substrates that we choose is silicon. Now we are going to build our shielding electrode right above the top of our substrate materials. In the same way, we are going to set dimensions, that is length, width, and height, and the position. So as you can see, the shielding electrode is there. Now you can change the name and also assign the material. We are using copper for the shielding electrode. Now we are going to develop contacting pad and feed line for our shielding electrode. These feed line and contacting pad actually acts as a terminal where you will apply the voltage. As you can see, the height of the feed line is the same as the height of the shielding electrode. Then you can again change the name and assign the material, which is copper. Now we are creating our contacting pad for the shielding electrode. The process is same as we repeated for the other components. You have to be very careful while writing the equations for your dimensions and position. So material for contacting pad is also copper. Now we are going to unite our shielding electrode, shield feed, and contacting back together so that they can become a one body. Next, we are going to make our dielectric. The length and the width of dielectric are the same as that of the shielding electrode. The height is different, which is 150 micrometer. The position of dielectric is adjusted in a way that it is right on the top of shielding electron. So here is our dielectric. Now you can change the name and also the material. For dielectric, we are assigning the material, which is silicon dioxide. You can change the color and transparency accordingly. This is the most critical part of the design. In this step, we are going to design our IDE or interdigitated electrodes. First of all, we will design just one finger. We gave the dimensions, that is length and the width. The height of the ID finger is the same as the height of the shielding electrode. Then the position is adjusted such that it lies on the top of the dielectric material. So you can see that one IDE finger. Now you can rename it and assign the material, which is copper. Now we use this IDE finger and make the duplicates of it along the line. In our case, the total number of IDE fingers for two IDE electrodes are 10, which means that for each IDE electrode, there are 5 fingers. So we actually assign n as a variable, which is the number of fingers in each electrode. So the ID gap, which is the distance between each electrode, it is very important, and we adjusted our distance to be 50 micrometer. As you can see that there are 5 fingers for IDE electrode 1. Now the second step is to connect all these fingers together, and for this purpose we are going to make IDE interconnect, which is the same as the feed line in the previous component. We adjust our dimensions and also the position. Height of the interconnect is the same as the height of the shielding electrode. At first, writing these equations seems cumbersome, but it is very helpful later on, because with just one click, you can easily modify your design according to the requirements. Now you change the name of the interconnect and then assign the material. So this is the model so far. Now we are going to design a contacting pad for our interdigitated electrode. The height of the contacting pad is the same as the height of the IDE interconnect and shielding electrode. The position is adjusted in a way that it is parallel to the shielding electrode contacting pad, as you can see in the figure. Now we are going to unite our fingers, ID interconnect and contacting pad together. The next step is to develop the second IDE, but we don't have to repeat the same process again. We just use the duplicate and the mirror commands and adjust the position. So this is your two IDEs or interdigitated electrodes. Now we are going to build our polymer or sensing layer. In this case, our sensing layer is deposited on the top of our IDEs. We will set up the dimensions and position for sensing layer. Next, we are going to change the name for the polymer and assign the material. In our sensor, we are using polyimide because it has good properties and high absorption capabilities, as well as it is suitable for IC fabrication technologies. You have to be careful while writing equations for the position. So here is the polymer or sensing layer. Since we are interested in the relative permittivity of polyimide, so we write an equation for the relative permittivity. This equation is available in one of the papers. The overall idea is to actually look at the change in the capacitance due to the change in relative permittivity and relative humidity. Now here is the polymer. We actually going to subtract our polymer from the IDE finger so that it can actually deposit it between the IDE gaps. So there is another thing that we can do is that design properties and make your dimension model more parametric. For example, there are some dimensions you can actually adjust them in a way that it depends on the other quantities. We actually forget to make the second feed line and contacting pad for our shielding electrode. So we are going to do that a bit now. And next we are going to apply excitations on IDE fingers, our interdigitated electrodes and shielding electrodes. So this is our model. We are going to apply 1 volts on IDE finger 1 and ground voltage on second IDE and shielding electrode. Now we are going to set our capacitance and make some setups. Then we want to sweep our relative humidity, so we can measure the change in capacitance. These are some general setups. So here you will run your simulation and you will see the change in variation of capacitance with relative humidity. So you can see the change. We will discuss the results later on. And now we will update our project, update our solution, and then we will move on to our thermal analysis part. We will import our engineering data, our geometry in steady state thermal. The overall idea is to actually observe the stability of sensor under different environmental conditions. So here is the simulation environment for steady state thermal. We are going to set the material. The mesh is the most critical part in this analysis. We actually set our mesh as per electromagnetics. And then we apply the temperature of 400 degrees centigrade on all the bodies, and we are going to observe total heat flux. But before running the results, we also want to observe some structural analysis such as thermal stresses as well as some net deformation. So we used the next module, which is steady state structure. For the engineering data, we have actually assigned some mechanical properties to our materials, because in some of the properties were missing when you perform your structure analysis. It is very important to add all the properties, especially mechanical, that are missing. So we will update, and then we go to the same simulation environment. Our applied load is the imported body temperature, and then we are going to apply the fixed port at the bottom of our sensor, and then we will solve our system. So here you can see the total heat flux. So the total heat flux is maximum at IDE finger, as you can see, and it is minimum at substrate. Since heat flux is directly proportional to thermal conductivity, so in our case, the copper has high thermal conductivity. So these are the maximal and minimum points where of the heat flux. Next, checking the total deformation, you can see the deformation is higher at IDE fingers. Moving on to next, we are going to actually determine the effects of deformation on the capacitance of our sensor. So for this purpose, we import our solution in the mechanical model. We actually change our length unit to millimeter for reasons, because this is how it works. And then we import our model in the geometry. This is how our deform model looks like. And then we generate our geometry here. Then we again import our model in the Maxwell 3D. This is the deformed structure of the sensor. And now we apply the same methodology as we did in the first step. We assign the materials, we assign the polymer as a variable. Then we actually set our equation for the relative permittivity. And finally, we will apply the excitations and run our simulation. So we are applying the excitation in the same way. In Maxwell 3D, the mesh is actually programmable controlled, and it is a dynamic mesh. So we sweep our relative humidity, we make some settings, and then we will analyze our results. So you see that this is the capacitance variation with RH. So after that, we are going to test our sensor. For this purpose, we are going to use the Twin Builder. We import our sensor model in the Twin Builder. So this is your sensor with two terminals. One is the ground and the other one is voltage. Then we are going to make a RC circuit, which is the most simplest form of the circuit that you can build. And then you will attach the resistance, which is 1 gigohm, and then apply the source voltage, which in our case is a pulse in pulse form, and we will set our voltage to be 0.5 volt with 50 hertz. And this is a voltmeter where you can analyze the capacitance. After setting all the things, you will generate the report, and we actually set up a report for relative humidity 0, 50, and 100, at which you can see the capacitance. So here's the capacitance. We will discuss all these results later on. The overall idea is to actually show how to do the modeling and the simulation. So this is the overall sensor modeling and simulation. Now we are going to discuss a little bit about our results and results. So these are actually the results that we are obtained from Maxwell 3D. In the first plot, you have seen that there's a linear relationship between the relative humidity and capacitance. From the second and the third plot, you can see that the polymer height is also linearly proportional to capacitance. As you increase the thickness of the polymer, the capacitance also increases. On the other hand, if you increase the distance between the IDE electrodes, the capacitance decreases. This is due to the fact that the electric field lines or the fringing fields strength decreases. We have also calculated the sensitivity of sensor, which is 0.77 femtofarad per 1% RH, and the capacitance range, as you can see. In order to have a resolution of 1% relative humidity, the electronics being used must have ADC with sampling rate 0.48 microseconds. And these are the steady state thermal results. You can see that the maximum heat flux occurs at IDE fingers. This is true because, as you can see from the heat flux formula, that heat flux is directly proportional to the thermal conductivity, and the copper has higher thermal conductivity as compared to others, and polymer has the lowest. From the second results, you can see that the maximum volumetric changes are observed in polymer. This is due to the fact that the polymer has higher coefficient of thermal expansion. These results are important because they help us to analyze the performance of sensor under various environmental conditions. From static structure results, you can see that the total deformation occurs at IDE fingers, and the total stress also occurs in IDE fingers. This kind of analysis is important because it helps us to evaluate the edging of the sensor due to temperature gradients and thermal stresses that actually leads to fracture and plastic deformation. From the thermal stress formula, you can see that it is proportional to the Young's modulus as well as the coefficient of thermal expansion. Although the coefficient of thermal expansion of polymer is higher, but still the thermal stresses and total deformation is higher in IDE fingers. This is due to the fact that Young's modulus value is higher for copper as compared to other materials. Therefore, it actually suppresses the effect of coefficient of thermal expansion. Then these are the results that we obtained after importing our deformed model in Maxwell 3D. You can see that the capacitance range is changes, and also the sensitivity decreases to 20%. Finally, we also simulated and modeled our design at 200 degrees centigrade. The overall idea is to check the variation of temperature on sensor stability. You can see that the percentage reduction in sensitivity is 16%. From this, we can actually say that the aging of the sensor is a critical factor. From these results, we also observed that the polyimide shows a superior temperature adaptability. We also perform sensor validation and verification. Since we have a dynamic mesh in our model, so the change in element size leads to the slight variation. The results you can also see from the plot. The number of tetrahedron actually corresponds to the number of elements in our mesh size. So as you can see that when you increase the number of tetrahedrons, the error or the variation between the results actually decreases. So we also perform verifications, that is, we perform a comparative analysis between the analytical and the simulation results. We actually tested our sensor with ID fingers 10 and ID fingers 20, and you have seen that the relative error in both the case is 13%. This 13% error is due to the fact that shielding electrode adapt to extra capacitance because the results for the capacitance are higher in the simulations. Micro fabrication is one of the important process when you consider developing or constructing your sensor in the real world. So the photolithography is the process that we have considered for our sensor. There are various steps for that. For example, in the first step, you have to patent the negative photoresist, and you actually deposit the layer of titanium or iron, so that in order to form the shielding electrode. After that, you will deposit or a layer of silicon dioxide using the process PECVD, and then you actually fabricate your IDEs. The polyimide is then spin coated. The device is then baked for several hours in order to clear the sensing layers. Finally, packaging. It is one of the critical and challenging step for humidity sensors. The idea is to actually consider simple plastic packaging, and the design consists of two pins and a small air opening to allow the ambient humidity to interact with the sensor. But this kind of packaging can be challenging because it can contaminate the IC part. So we have to find out the ways to ensure avoiding this situation. Device testing. You can also test your model using the twin builder as we did in the simulations, but you can also build up a more economical and simple setup for testing a real device. This is the block diagram for testing a real device. You can have a one PID controllers, which is actually attached to the humidifier in order to control the humidifier. Then in the chamber, you can actually put your sensor. This chamber will be maintained by relative humidity. The relative humidity maintained in this chamber, and the humidity meter is actually connected to measure the level of humidity. From the capacitance meter, you can measure your capacitance, and on the cloud you can actually store and analyze and visualize this data. Finally, the conclusions. We have developed an interdigitated humidity sensor, and the sensitivity of the developed sensor found to be 0.77 femtofarad per relative humidity sensor with measurement range from 0 to 100% relative humidity. Thermal analysis carried out, which shows that PI has a superior temperature adaptability. The future aspect of this project can be to develop sensor fusion network for cyber physical system in which we can incorporate number of humidity sensor to calculate the data and analyze it. Thank you so much.